Murder Drones is honestly my favorite show of all time. It's actually one of the shows that got me back into making YouTube videos. So for me, when I first watched Murder Drones, I was genuinely confused about a lot of things. And I had to watch the show multiple times and go on Reddit and other sources just to figure out the basic story. With Murder Drones being so complex and having so much lore, it takes a lot of time to genuinely understand the story, and the way the pacing works, where they go over some facts immediately within 3 seconds, it genuinely makes it hard to get the bigger picture of the story. So that's why in this series, we are going to be going through episode by episode in chronological order, trying to understand the story of Murder Drones. And for today's episode, we are going to be talking about everything that happened before the events of the pilot episode. So now, before going further ado, this is your one and only spoiler warning. This entire series is going to contain spoilers, folks, and especially this one's going to contain spoilers for the majority of everything that happens after episode 1. But with each episode, I will give you a different spoiler warning. So let's begin. To understand anything in Murder Drones, you need to start with one company, J.C. Jensen, with their full name being J.C. Jensen in Space. J.C. Jensen is an interstellar corporation. They make products to assist with resource extraction from other planets. And most importantly for our story, they manufacture worker drones, autonomous robots built to help humans mine throughout these multiple exoplanets and handle labor across the galaxy. Now here's the key thing about worker drones. Right from the start, these are not mindless machines. They are completely sentient. And these worker drones feel and understand everything that's happening in the world around them. And they have worked in multiple planets from Earth to Copper 9. Now through this, J.C. Jensen has been testing stuff on their drones. They have to create an operating system for them, so they create a simple OS for their worker drones. But within this OS, there is a small little tiny thing that can happen. If a worker drone is improperly disposed of, they can become infected with something known as the Absolute Solver, a rogue AI virus that will completely take over that worker drone, using it as a host to do whatever it wants. Its goal is pure destruction, consumption, and basically destroying everything that it sees around them. And basically, J.C. Jensen has already documented this risk. When a worker drone is improperly disposed of, this can happen. They made an entire manual about it. I wonder where this is going, folks. But this is where things start to go wrong. A worker drone working for the Elliot family that got improperly disposed of got infected with the Absolute Solver, and that worker drone proceeds to start the Gala massacre within the Elliot Manor, killing everyone that we know in there and turning the remaining worker drones in there into a new type of drone, disassembly drones. These drones, their mission is to kill all humans and kill all worker drones, relying on oil to actually stay functioning and prevent overheating. On Copper 9, humans were living alongside worker drones, mining the planet, and at some point, these humans became aware of the events that were happening on Earth. And as a precaution, they start to study the Absolute Solver, trying to figure out a way to get rid of the solver while still maintaining the ability for the worker drones to maintain their solver powers. One thing I forgot to mention is that the Absolute Solver has godlike powers. 2 of these test subjects that were successful out of the original 50 test subjects were worker drones named Nori and Yiva. Both of them became infected through these experiments, but they eventually began to find a patch known as the Crucifix patch. Yiva took her Crucifix patch willingly, while Nori had some issues. And because Nori decided not to take her patch willingly, she became infected by the actual Absolute Solver, and the AI took over her. She had a fight and basically killed every single human in Cabin Fevers, while Yiva was able to stop her and give her the patch, but the Absolute Solver, having the final laugh, managed to release a null void down to the planet's core, not necessarily destroying the planet, but wiping out all humanity on the planet. And with humanity gone, worker drones were finally free. They were on their own for the first time, and they built their own civilization, communities, colonies, a whole society, and they finally had a future of their own. And after Nori and Eva escaped from cabin fevers, they met up with some worker drones. Nori eventually settled down with a worker drone known as Khan, who was obsessed with doors, and they eventually had a daughter together. And that daughter is going to be important for our story later on. Eva similarly also rebuilt her life. She had a daughter named Doll, who's also going to be important later on. Both of these children are going to be very, very, very important. Soon, JC Jensen found out that some of their worker drones have officially gone rogue, aka they have built a whole society for themselves and there are no humans there. So as a precaution, they send out their disassembly drones and tell them to kill every single worker drone on Cobra 9 with no mercy being shown. Now the show later reveals the whole story of why the disassembly drones were really sent in, but I'm going to save that for a future video. But from the worker drone's perspective, these killing machines start falling from the sky, hunting them down, tearing them apart, and most of the worker drones were just scared and they wanted to hide. After the disassembly drones arrived, Nori was attacked by one of them, hit with their nanite acid that was slowly burning her. The injuries were proven to be fatal, and Khan made the devastating decision to put his wife out of her misery and kill her. And Uzi grew up believing that her mother was dead and no idea who Nori really was and what she had been through, because Uzi was simply a small pod, she wasn't an actual drone yet. Eva and her husband were eventually killed by the disassembly drone known as V before the show even begins, and Doll witnessed her parents' murder. And at that moment, it awakened Doll's absolute solver powers, and it put her down on a revenge path against V. So both Nori and Eva, two worker drones who had the powers of the absolute solver, who survived the core collapse, who escaped cabin fevers, and also managed to build a life for themselves, are officially gone before the story begins, and their daughters are left without mothers. With the disassembly drones actively hunting across Copper 9, the worker drones fortified themselves behind Con Dorman's greatest invention, the 3 big blast doors. And one of these colonies is known as Outpost 3, and this is where the show will take place. The man behind these doors, like I said, is the great Con Dorman. And after losing his wife, after trying to protect his daughter, his goal and his mission is to simply protect the remaining of the worker drones in this colony. And they decide to make the Worker Defense Force, the WDF. And they are going to keep everyone safe in this colony. And somewhere inside that colony, Khan's daughter Uzi was growing up frustrated, angry, and already secretly building a railgun in her bedroom. And what we also see is that these disassembly drones are creating these worker drone spirals around Copper 9 to send both a message and to be a threat to the worker drones of what happens when you meet them. So that is everything that happens before the pilot officially begins in Murder Drones. JC Jensen basically built worker drones, treated them like property, and later sent killing machines after them after they actually tried to, build lives for themselves. The human population of Copper 9 basically wiped themselves out through reckless experiments, and also because, the absolute solver might have killed them with a null void. And then the two worker drones who had powers of the absolute solver, Nori and Eva, survived the worst of it, built lives, had daughters, and both ended up dead before the show even begins. And their daughters, Uzi and Doll, have to live through the hellhole that is Copper 9 with the threat of these disassembly drones killing them. And for Doll, not realizing what the true extent of her powers can do. This is the world of Murder Drones, and this is the world the pilot drops you into. I hope you all enjoyed this. Next video, we are going to be breaking down episode 1 from start to finish. And that is where the story is truly going to kick off. And like I said, folks, make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below, share the goddamn video out to people. YouTube's killing me with these impressions. But yeah, that's all I have for you, folks. Sorry for this video being late. I had a bunch of stuff going on in life. But yeah, I guess that's everything I have for you. See y'all, folks. Hands are out. And her daughters are left alone with these powers that they have no idea how to use, and Uzi doesn't even realize that she has these powers yet. Oh shit, I forgot to mention. Oh,